Reporter Todd Archer wrote a piece on ESPN.com about how the Broncos drafted Brock Osweiler in 2012 to be the quarterback of the future behind Peyton Manning. Come 2016, and they're left with literally nothing. Well, except for Trevor Siemian. Todd talked about how the Cowboys could learn from that situation. So, guys, how should they go about replacing Romo? And I'm going to defer to the Cowboys fans. Will?
So here's our choice, Freddie. Do the Cowboys go the Brock Osweiler path, which is get nothing in return on your investment, or very little, to develop a starting quarterback for somebody else? Or do they hope it turns out the Aaron Rodgers path, the seamless transition from the franchise quarterback of many years to the next franchise quarterback? When they look at their number 4 pick in the draft and they say Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, or maybe others, I think they do have to worry. Which one is it we're getting? Are we getting Aaron Rodgers or Brock Osweiler? I'm not even talking about from a talent perspective. I'm talking about, is he going to be yours or somebody else's? Because that's a massive risk. Whoa, if you develop him for somebody else, what a waste of a number 4 pick. That could be Joey Bosa. That could be Jalen Ramsey holding down your secondary for years and years to come. I think for me, I go the Aaron Rodgers path, though, because first of all, as a Cowboys fan, I'm really never worried about getting money whipped. I mean, Cowboys are
not with Jerry. They print money.
Jerry's going to take care of it. If he wants you, you're going to get your money. And I hope he can also manage the egos as well, so that you don't get in a situation where, like Brock Osweiler was, where your feelings are hurt, or maybe Kaepernick in San Francisco, where your feelings are hurt, and that's dictating your outcome. So I bank on Jerry being able to take care of that heir apparent and wanting to be there at the end of Tony Romo's tenure and having 2 years to start. But I got one more point, and that is I'm not sure that's Carson Wentz. I'm not sure that's Jared Goff. I'm not sure you use your number 4 pick in this year's draft to do it. And here's why. I have said, I've had the debate, you're only up here so often. You only have the number 4 pick so often. But I keep hearing a name coming out from guys who are around the Cowboys, and it's a really intriguing name for me. And you can get this name maybe in the 3rd round. Maybe you have to spend a 2nd round. And that's Dak Prescott.
Oh, you stole my line. Man.
From Mississippi
stole
State.
My line.
Went sideways for you, Freddie.
Oh.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. No, we're on the same mind. Go ahead, yeah.
People are comparing him to Tim Tebow. They're saying in this way, leader in the locker room, great character, smart, but more athletic.
5 arm.
He has to learn still. He's still young. He wasn't necessarily in a pro system that he's ready to step in and do this, but a couple years learning, Dak Prescott might be just as good a bet as Carson Wentz or Jared Goff. So I follow the Rodgers bet.
Prescott. It's such a Dallas name.
Dak.
There we go.
And
what do you think about Kellen Moore?
I don't think.
Backup at best.
I don't think.
Career backup at best.
Okay. So you don't think Tony Romo's backup is currently on the roster?
No, he's there, but he's not going to be a starting quarterback.
His heir apparent is not currently on the roster.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, to me, if I'm looking at the Cowboys, I definitely draft my next QB, because I think, as you mentioned, Will, there are lessons to be learned from what happened with Brock Osweiler at Denver. So if you want to avoid the English Premier League happening to you, where you develop somebody else's player for Arsenal or for Chelsea, then you just, because of course the same parameters aren't in place when you look at the NFL versus the EPL, but we're talking about whether you invest in some guy, can you then keep him? And one, you mentioned the money. I don't think that can happen to the Dallas Cowboys, or won't happen. And then also, you make sure that you do cultivate a relationship with your backup quarterback, and make sure that you do communicate well with him if he is your heir apparent. Because it seems like the Denver Broncos could have done a few things differently in how they communicated with Brock, especially in the second half of the San Diego game. In certain moments where you're like, a little better communication might have avoided his decision to go elsewhere. So I think the Cowboys absolutely have to look through the draft as opposed to paying, Chase Daniel money to a guy who's not even your future franchise QB.
There's no reason for the Cowboys to not take Carson Wentz at number 4. If he's there. If he's not there, then
you just gave us the reason. It's Dak Prescott.
No. Here's why. Here's my other reason. If he's gone, if Carson Wentz is gone, then you take Jalen Smith at number 4. Then in the 2nd or 3rd round, you get either Prescott. Here's another name, Brandon Allen, quarterback out of Arkansas. Rangy guy, live arm, played in a pro-style system with Brett Bielema at Arkansas, really played extremely well in the second halves of seasons in the SEC for Arkansas. But there's no reason for them to not take Carson Wentz. Tony Romo is 35 years of age. When you're going to have surgery to shave down your collarbone in hopes that you're going to stay healthy, You know what? That's playing with fire if you're the Dallas Cowboys. They went in the last season thinking, hey, we got a break. Tony Romo was fully healthy for 16 games. He played at an MVP level back in 2014. There was no doubt he was an MVP level type quarterback. And a bad rule that was executed properly kept that team from beating Green Bay and playing Seattle, a team they had beaten in the regular season. The Cowboys had no fear going to play them in the championship game, especially when they beat them in the regular season. They were down by double digits early on in that game. That was a perfect storm that completely went the other way last year. And if you're Jerry Jones, you can't say, well, that was last year, it's not going to happen this year. You have to take into account that the possibility is going to be there that Tony Romo is going to get injured again. You're hoping for luck, you're wishing for luck, you're praying for luck, you're asking too much for luck. And since Andrew Luck's not joining the Dallas Cowboys, that's not the kind of luck you need to surround yourself with if you're Dallas. Carson Wentz is there at number 4, you take Carson Wentz. If he's not there, Jalen Ramsey, who in my opinion out of Florida State is the next great safety cornerback that's going to play in the National Football League. You pair him in that backfield with the kid they got last year at safety. Now you got 2 guys that are thumpers in the defensive backfield. Then you get your quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round. Maybe Paxton Lynch of Memphis. Maybe he slides down into the 2nd round. He's going to be there. But if you do that and don't take Carson Wentz, your backup plan better be including a quarterback taken in the 2nd or 3rd round.
All right, so you guys like the Cowboys hitting the draft, but what about a guy like Johnny Manziel? Because he is now available. The Browns did, in fact, cut him this morning. So RG3, Kaepernick, Fitz, now Johnny Manziel, they are all free agents looking for a home. If you were the GM of a team, which one of those guys would you choose for your team as the QB? We'll talk about that next.
You're watching First Take, presented by DiGiorno.
With Brock Osweiler gone and with the Texans, the Broncos now find themselves scrambling for a starting QB. Ryan Fitzpatrick and RG3 are possibilities. Also, sources are telling our Adam Schefter that they've expressed interest in trading for Colin Kaepernick. So, guys, if you were the head coach or GM of a team, which quarterback would you like on your team? We're not necessarily talking about the Denver Broncos. Kaepernick, RG3, or Ryan Fitzpatrick? Freddie?
I'm taking Colin Kaepernick. I think he needs a fresh start out of San Francisco. I think he's going to get it. It would not surprise me if they find a way to trade him. And if I'm San Francisco, I'm doing everything I can to try to massage whatever has gone on that has led him and his representatives to say, deuces, we're out of here. We want to go somewhere else. So if I'm Chip Kelly, if I'm Trent Baalke, the GM, coach and GM respectively, I'm trying to do everything I can to see how we can fix this. But if I'm Colin Kaepernick, I think I would have to need a fresh start. That's a guy I would like to have on my team because I saw how the way he was coached properly in 2012 when he got the starting job, led them to the Super Bowl, 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. 2013 got them the NFC Championship game, 21 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. 2014, when everything unraveled, he still played hard, 19 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and he was sacked 52 times because the offensive line had so many injuries, but he kept going out there and battling. I don't know what happened last year, but I'm going to place that at Jim Tomsula's feet because Jim Tomsula should not have gotten the head coaching job. He wasn't ready to do it. And this was a yardstick measure game that Trent Baalke was playing with Jim Harbaugh, and look who lost that battle, Trent Baalke. So he's hoping that Chip Kelly can rectify that. But if I'm Colin Kaepernick, I'm not giving that a chance to work. I'll take my chances with him, a big athletic guy, a guy that whatever happened in San Francisco is going to do everything he can to prove people wrong and show him that the Kaepernick you saw in 012, 013, and 014, that's the guy that the NFL is getting from now on, not the guy that got benched last year in 2015 for San Francisco. I'll take Colin Kaepernick.
All right.
I think you have to answer this. Honestly, you have to answer it 2 different ways. If I'm the Broncos, the answer is Ryan Fitzpatrick. If I'm everybody else, the answer is RG3.
But if you're Will Cain?
Well, if I'm running, instead of the very smart in your mind, Denver Broncos, I pick Ryan Fitzpatrick for both of your analysis you've given today, that you don't need a quarterback to win you games for the Denver Broncos. You need a quarterback that won't lose you games. And Ryan Fitzpatrick is the guy that can step in and do that. So if I'm the Broncos, that's my choice. But if I'm anyone else, San Francisco 49ers, Cleveland Browns, I'm going with RG3, and here's why. I think both RG3 and Kaepernick are flyers. They are leaps of some level of faith to see if they can get back to what they once were. I'm also going to have a backup plan on those leaps of faith. If I'm the Niners or I'm the Browns, I'm going to have a backup plan. I'm not going all in on you becoming who you once were. So I'm going to draft somebody. And if that's my plan, if I'm going to have two quarterbacks, I'm not going to pay the price for Kaepernick. It's not that I think RG3 is necessarily better than Kaepernick. The price for Kaepernick is possibly a second-round draft pick and huge cap hits over the next 2 to 3 years unless he renegotiates. The price for RG3, actually, we don't even really know what it is right now. He's a free agent. I would offer it's much less than what it's going to cost to get Kaepernick. So I'll take RG3 at the cheaper price than Kaepernick at the much more expensive price.
Interesting.
I love when Will and I agree. Like, I almost want to just hug him.
You can do it right now. Only thing separating that is air and opportunity.
Like, give me like a real one.
Well, this is
what was that?
That's right. You need to do like a high five.
No, shake hands.
That's like a law firm handshake.
Like
She's just trying to give you a little of this. Show them how it's done.
It's just like,
oh, man.
Whatever we had for a split second is gone.
Oh, yeah, it's out the window.
It was ever there,
the thrill is gone. It's gone away.
I mean, I like the risk reward on RG3. I think of these three quarterbacks, he's the guy with the most upside and possibly the most downside, considering he's had a hard time staying on the field, and you've got certain questions about does he know how to be a leader in the NFL. So if I'm a person who likes to take risks, and I am on my team that I'm building here, of the guys on the market that we're talking about, these three, it's RG3. Because if you can get him back to what we've seen, and if you believe that he learned from some of the mistakes with Washington, and he's grown, and we heard Ryan Clark say that he thinks that he has, and he thinks that some of the quotes that have come out about how he was received in that locker room are a little bit skewed, and that that RG3 is a solid teammate, then you're left with a football player who in his rookie year proved that he could be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And so I think when you couple that with the fact that the price on him, as Will mentioned, leaves you with more room to build the rest of your hypothetical team here. And you don't have to trade for him and pay a premium like you would with Cap. And with Fitzpatrick, I just think you know what you have. And while what you have is solid, and we saw with the New York Jets last year, and he will get paid for being a solid quarterback, that's not the way I would build my team. I would want a guy who I think someday could have the same star power that he once had.
Well, you guys, okay, so two of you took RG3.
I took Colin Kaepernick.
I'll take Ryan Fitzpatrick then. I'll take the last one.
Did you think he was lonely? And he was hanging out
33 years old. Yeah, you know what?
He was like a kid on the playground who didn't get picked, and you know
exactly what you're getting with him. And I think all the other guys are very injury prone. I don't think RG3 is going to get back to that 2012 state.
That's the huge question.
That's a huge question.
With Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's like milk. At a certain point, he gets sour and it unravels. I don't know if I want that part of my football team.
All right, let's put a wrap on that. So listen, he played in the NBA for about a decade. Nate Robinson can ball, but could he ball in the National Football League? He says he wants to. And So our question to you guys, which NBA players could make that transition to the gridiron? We're going to talk about that next. Need you to help me.